here in New Jersey. My name is Dr. Comfort. One of my mission or my main vision is to work with adults who have loved ones or students with disabilities. Why do I do this? Supporting adults who have loved ones or students with disabilities. I do it because my learning journey has been very shaky in a sense, okay? I suffered from learning disabilities as a like middle school, high school. That's when I noticed the struggle. And it was ignored, it wasn't identified. So I believe that educating just one adult can get a child with disabilities closer to their highest potential. So let's get to this week's question. The question I was asked is, what is my teaching style, right? And my teaching style, first of all, my teaching style has changed over the years, and it has evolved over time, okay? Based on my experience for about 17 plus years now, I've been teaching special education. So my teaching style has been evolving and changing according to what's going on. But there's one particular teaching style I always come to before I even divert into other areas. And that is experimental teaching. And you may ask what that means. Experimental teaching for me is basically teaching where I consistently exposing my students to the world around them, meaning that every lesson that I do, I try my best to just introduce the world to my students, okay? Because traditional way of learning, it really involves the memory, right? So, and a lot of times this learning it works for people when they have exams. And I know when I was in school, they used to call this term chew and pour, okay? So a lot of students who have great memory will memorize the whole material that the teacher has taught. And the day of the exam, they literally just pour. They just write everything that you learned, okay? That was not the case for me. I will learn and read 2-3 sentences and I will forget what the first sentence said, so my exam was very bad. So for me, chew and pour, memorizing materials and able to execute it in the way the teacher wants was not working for me. As I grew and learned my own way of teaching, I realized that I always fall back into experimental teaching, where I constantly explore or expose my students to the world around them. Anything I'm teaching, I have to relate it to the world, and I have to bring the world to them in the classroom for them to understand it, so that when they interpret the lesson to a parent or to somebody else, they're even able to say it in their own words. All right. I have friends who they know definition just like that. You said, what is this? They give it to you. What is that? They give it to you. Not me. I will give you a long version of the way I understand the material. And so I give that opportunity to my students to also express their knowledge through the experience. So experimental teaching is just experimenting, see how we can grasp this information. All right. So let's say, for example, I have a student. I'm teaching new words into a science. We're doing science. I'm teaching new words. Student A is a bad speller. So when I create my lesson plan, I will make sure I provide cards with the words on it for that student A, because spelling the words is hard. But now they have a word bank that they can use. But student B have more of a challenge. The student B can't read. So what do I do with the same vocabulary? What I do is I put picture with the words for student B. Student B card looks a little bit different from student A, because student B needs a little bit more, okay? But there comes student C, who can't see what you're doing because they have vision problem, and also they have auditory problem. They can't hear very well. So how do you introduce the same vocabulary to student C? So in that case, I bring the material itself, the physical material, to the student, if I can, to the student C. So let's say maybe I'm introducing a word like the cutleries, spoon, fork, knife. I will bring those objects to the classroom and actually have students C feel the object, right? Talk about the object to student C, and give him the use of that material. So you go a little further with student C. The same lesson, okay? So you are experimenting with the teaching in the favor of the student with learning disability or struggles. This is how I start with this experimental teaching strategy that I use. Is I begin with evaluating the student's strength and weakness, all right? And I develop my teachings through that. And when I look at that, what they're strong at, what they're weak at, I take those, I make a note of it, and when I create the lesson, I make sure I tap into those areas of each student, right? If I'm lucky, I get 2 or 3 students having the same struggle, I create a group, right? So my teaching style is is all over the place, but I realize I always go to experimental teaching. I experiment constantly to see what works, because what works last time, it will not work this time. So if I can't say, oh, I teach this way, I teach that way, it's not possible. As a special education teacher, you cannot have a one particular teaching, because you have diverse students with different learning styles, and you must be able to grasp that. So if you are a parent and you're struggling to teach your student, your child, or if you are a loved one and you have a hard time to get the person you are teaching to understand the material, what you have to do is to analyze their strength and their weakness. And when you do that, you're able to experiment with how you're going to teach that material. So to answer the question in what is my teaching style is a lot, but I always go to experimental teaching, because it helps me to understand my students. It helps me to come with great teaching because I know what they are weak at, and I know what they are strong at, and that's what I do. I want to say that we, as an adult, we have to work together. We have to work together so that we can get just one child closer to the highest potential. Okay? You can't do it all. And so you have to try your best to just help a student reach just inch, inch, inch closer to their highest potential. If you have any question regarding special education, comment below. Go to my website, email me. Also, if you want to know more about special education, how you can support your loved one, give me a call. Let's talk about your situation so that you can be the best of the best for your loved one with disabilities. I hope I was able to answer this question. I hope you were able to get just a little bit of information. Thank you and have a nice day.
For further information or to support us, please contact us, Irvington, New Jersey, 07111, United States of America, or visit DATSS.org. DATSS, supporting teachers of students with disabilities.